Every once in a while, I get to interview somebody who makes me feel like I'm not doing enough in my life. And this is exactly how I feel after interviewing Lisa Song Sutton. This is a beauty queen turned into real estate investor, turned into congressional candidate, turned into defense contract holder. I mean, this woman does everything. She's got a thriving business. She's a motivational speaker. She's beautiful. She is an incredibly talented investor. She's creating solutions at the highest level. And I got to sit down with her and chat about everything that's going on in her life. And so I'm excited to introduce you to Lisa Song Sutton. Lisa.
Yes.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Nice
Thanks
to
for
meet
having
you.
me.
Of
Nice
course.
to meet you.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you guys. This is Lisa Song Sutton. She is from Las Vegas and entrepreneur, but has an incredible backstory where she came from, how she became an entrepreneur. And so I really wanted to introduce you to the community that resonates and follows me so that they can understand how to be a badass like you. So if you would, start us off with how you became an entrepreneur. Where, of course you have Asian background, and I've got ethnic parents as well, Asian parents, even though sometimes Indians don't consider themselves Asians. We're Asians. And I know that, especially as a first generation immigrant in the West, there's just so many other factors that come into play when we are making the decision to become an entrepreneur. So if you could, rewind us back to when you made the decision and how that went.
Sure. So my background's in law. So I started in business litigation and business bankruptcy. And I think like most Asian kids, I was told from a very young age, education is paramount.
Of course.
You need to decide very quickly whether you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Those were the two options.
Hey.
So by the time I was
At least they gave you lawyer. I didn't even have that option on the table.
I had two options. So by the time I was in middle school, I was like, I loved to read, I loved to write. So I was like, oh, I'll just go to law school. And that was that. And so I was off to the races. And finished law school, moved to Las Vegas. I was working my big girl job at the firm. And life was good because I felt like I had done everything I was supposed to do. Right? I checked all the boxes. And in 2012, a girlfriend of mine from Florida called me up and she said, hey, I've been making these alcohol cupcakes. And I'm like,
alcohol cupcakes?
That's a good idea.
Okay.
I was like,
so
love
what, you
it.
eat a cupcake and you eat enough cupcakes and you're drunk?
Well, we would have a joke, and it was a bad joke. You'd get diabetes before you get wasted because we put like cake filling and frosting all together.
Sure.
But she told me about this idea that she had and that she had been kind of like experimenting at home. And I'm like, dude, that is an amazing idea. You need to move to Vegas. Move into my house. I just bought a house in Summerlin. I'm like, move into my house. Like, I'll help you start the company.
Right.
And I still stayed working full time because I didn't even know how to bake before we started the company. And I still, I had that job that like, there's no way I could leave it, right?
Was it just the idea was so good, you were like, we have to do this? Or were you kind of like, I want my friend to come live with me? Or
all the above,
okay,
right? I was
okay.
intrigued by the idea. I thought it was a great idea. I was perfect for Vegas because this is where people come to overspend, overindulge, buy and do things they're not going to buy and do at home.
Right.
And like, how fun, right? I was 27 years old. I was just like, this is going to be a blast.
Amazing.
So she moves across the country from Florida to Vegas, and I stayed working at the firm. We started the company, and so nights and weekends, I'm like helping her like bake, run deliveries, set up events. I'm like funneling money into the whole thing. And then we made $1 million selling cupcakes. Yeah.
I would have never, I mean, look, when you first said it, I was like, intriguing. I never thought you guys would sell $1 million worth of booze cupcakes.
Yeah, so we sell $1 million worth of
Who
Sin
bought
City
it?
cupcakes. I mean, everybody. So it was like every tourist that came through town,
That
of
is
course,
so
right?
wild.
Like bachelorettes, events, weddings, whatever. But then where the money was is conventions, golf tournaments. I mean, we did Derek Jeter's golf tournament every single year. We did Michael Jordan's golf tournament. Like we were up in everyone's space doing all the things. And so I realized, I was like, wait a second. I'm a third-year associate at this firm making $140,000. I was like, the math is not mathing.
Yeah.
So I go to Mailbox at the time, and I was like, so remember that, the little cupcake thing I told you about? Because I was super transparent about it. And in fact, I had brought in cupcakes to the office to like taste test. You got to work with what you got, right? So I'm like using my coworkers to taste test our recipes.
Focus group.
100%, yeah. And he was like, dude, you can't bring in vodka cupcakes into the office every day. He's like, it's not okay.
Preferred by 100% of lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. Who have no substance abuse issues. And so he's like, okay, like what? And I was like, we made a lot of money. And I was like, I don't think it makes sense for me to keep spending my time here. 'Cause I was working full time. I was working 5.5 days a week, right?
Right.
I was like, I don't think it makes sense for me to spend my time and resources here, you know? I was like, we're scaling quickly and like hiring. And he was like, so he gave me a $20,000 raise right on the spot. And
Oh
he
my
was like,
God.
don't leave me yet. He's like, you
Wow.
can't leave yet. So I did this, like, I went from like full-time salary to part-time, then I went part-time hourly, then I was of counsel. I did this like kind of gradual fade away.
That seems like a really
It was
like a really
great.
nice way to transition out of a company.
It was
You
so great.
probably really helped your organization by training your replacement and also giving you a soft landing because
Super soft,
you're like,
yeah.
okay, well, I don't have all my eggs in the vodka basket, but I've also got this,
Yeah.
you know, I have an income coming in case things get a little bumpy or chocolatey.
Exactly. Yeah, chocolate wasted.
Yeah.
So it was very mitigated, right?
Right.
The risk was very mitigated. And I appreciate that that was my first experience into entrepreneurship because I didn't have to make desperate business decisions in the beginning because at least I knew like my mortgage was paid for, my car payment was paid for, my car insurance, just kind of like the things to live. I didn't have to
Handled.
worry about, yeah,
Right.
exactly. Didn't have to worry about that. So really grateful that I started out that way. But through that experience of building these cupcakes, I realized, wow, I can have my own company as long as I team up with an operations partner.
Right.
And so I just kept replicating that model across real estate, food and beverage, shipping, retail, kind of all of the above, venture capital.
So how many companies are you involved in right now?
So I've condensed it now.
Okay.
There was a period of time where it was almost 7. Now it's down to like kind of a core 4.
Okay, what are they?
So Engel Invokers.
Okay.
I own the Engel Invokers franchise for Las Vegas.
Wow,
and Henderson.
congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
They're an incredible company.
They sure are.
So I ran a team at Sotheby's for 5.5 years, brought the Christie's brand to Las Vegas and had Christie's there for 2 years. And then when that got sold to At Properties, November 21, top of 22, my partner Kathy and I acquired the Engel Invokers brand. And they've been phenomenal to work with.
Is real estate brokerage, I mean, we were at one point a brokerage and the math wasn't mathing.
Yeah.
They're very difficult to
Yeah.
make profitable.
Yep.
Is there something different about Engel and Volkers that makes it more profitable or makes it worthwhile?
Yeah, so the value at the brokerage, so I mean, you know this, right? The brokerage takes a house cut, right? The house
Right.
gets a cut on every transaction that's going on. So really it's either a volume play or just simply just takes time. What I love about owning the brokerage as well is that my family, we have a family office portfolio that's around 60 million assets under management right now. Most of it is heavily concentrated in Nevada simply by the function of me having been there for 14 years. So it's so helpful to have a brokerage at
So
your back.
deal flow.
Yes, it's so helpful to have a brokerage at your back,
Yeah.
not only on off-market stuff, but just handling the transaction. I'm
course.
licensed, but I don't handle any of the transactions, certainly not on of our own either.
Right.
I love having that buffer of an experienced agent just handling all the stuff that comes along with the
real.
transaction, right?
Yeah.
So great, run with it, take it. I also love, it's very fulfilling for me and purposeful. We have a mission, every single one of our agents that work for us, we love turning them into a real estate investor as well.
Come on.
Yeah, the majority, it's young women who work with us.
Yes.
We do have 2 guys. We have 2 guys.
Yeah. So they're the
but-
minority.
But there are office husbands, basically.
Okay,
and
okay.
they-
Yeah.
God bless them.
Yeah. You should really just pay them less
They,
to get them back, to get us back for all those years.
They're
They're good
wonderful.
dudes,
But
yeah.
they're such good guys.
Awesome.
Because it's a lot. They joke it's like an estrogen bomb, and I'm like, is this derogatory? Are we
Yeah.
are we friends now?
Right.
They're wonderful though, so we really appreciate that. But
Awesome.
otherwise, it's a team of young women. Everyone's like, under 40. And they're all hustlers. They're
Yeah.
all incredible. And so I love that these young women, a lot of them actually come from the food and beverage customer service industry. I love cherry picking young women who come from the pools, high-end bottle service, not just like some cocktail waitress like at the
Yeah.
Mirage, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if you are high-end bottle service from like Wet Republic, Encore Beach Club, these ladies are freaking hustlers.
And they're rolling in
they
money.
Are well, first off, so they're used to making well over 6 figures, right?
Correct.
So like, good, I want you to be accustomed to like having to work hard to make your money. But then once they hit like 29, like, I don't know, they're not invited
kinda
back.
aged
yeah,
out,
they're
yeah.
not invited back. So, okay, honey, what are you gonna do now, you know?
Right.
And I love that they're just hustlers. Because think about just the logistics of working at these day club pools, right?
Yep.
You are on your feet from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day in 110-degree heat, in wedges, by the way.
Right.
And there's no bullshit there. You're not like wasted. You're not on drugs. You're like working your butt off
Right.
outside, and you have dealt with every drunk asshole with a credit card. So, oh, you want to get into luxury real estate? Like, this is going to be easy transition for you.
100%. So what
Like,
they're getting, the abuse they had to put up
that's
with
what
from
I'm
those
saying.
you know, D-bags
Well,
versus
and
like
these
just
people-
somebody who wants to buy a home.
And these people are like, you know, they want it to happen now, right? They're
Right.
like, I want a rhinoceros in my cabana tomorrow, right? Like just crazy stuff. And because they're used to being like resource oriented, you know, driven, like the transition into real estate, it's not a difficult one. They're used to being just on, right? Like, so it's wonderful. I love cherry picking young women who come from that hustle vibe and hustle mentality. And then they're like, this isn't even nearly as hard as I thought it would be. And I was like, told you.
Man, I could never get away with saying I love cherry picking young women. But hey, you said it, and it and it works. So
They're incredibly empathetic. Like I just think they make such great agents too.
100%
They're
do.
such good agents.
100%.
They're so nurturing. They're so nurturing with clients. So I love that. So that's what's very fulfilling about having the brokerage, along
course.
with my partner Kathy.
So that was one company.
Yes. So Ship Las Vegas. Mailbox rental pack and ship stores. So think like a UPS store, but they're independent. So we service UPS, FedEx, and the Postal Service.
Okay.
And I have a few of those stores. I'm invested in several others. And
As a passive partner, like a money partner in those?
as a money partner, yeah.
Got it. So they must be really profitable for you to be putting your money behind them.
Yeah, what I love about them is look, you're not going to make like $10 million out of one store, right? This is
Sure.
a brick and mortar retail store that, you know, might be 1,600 feet, right?
Yep.
You're not making $10 million out of a store, but your top line, if you're consistently doing 500,000, and then it's a 50% margin.
Wow.
Yes. So I was like, you know, coming from a bakery, right,
Yeah.
and coming from real estate, where the bakery, look, I'm dealing with the freaking health department all the time.
Sure.
They're so annoying. You're dealing with heavy staff, and you have to have specialized staff. You know, these people with pastry degrees or bakers, whatever,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
And then even on the real estate side, right, you have dozens of agents. You're constantly on call. Like your phone's got to be on, right? Because real estate doesn't sleep. There's always some sort of something going on with the
course.
transaction.
Yep.
With these stores, they are open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And
that's it.
That's it. Nobody has your cell phone. You know, no customer has your cell phone number. They don't need your cell
There's
phone
no
number.
emergencies to
There's
deal with.
no emergency.
Oh my
There's no
gosh.
emergency. It's closed on Sundays, closed on major holidays because the mail's not running. And what I love about them, so I started those stores in 2018.
Are they your own brand?
Yes, it's called Ship Las Vegas.
Are you franchised in that brand?
No, so what I did was I created, this is crazy, but like I ended up creating a course out of it called the Mailbox Money course because I had people contacting me asking me how they could open up their own
Okay.
independent store.
Yeah.
And I was like answering one-off emails and I was like, okay, like this is not an efficient use of my time. And I have a very close girlfriend, Cody Sanchez, who now is blown up. She's
Love
everywhere.
Cody. We just got to hang out this
Cody
weekend.
back in the day, like back in the day,
Okay.
when she was still in private equity.
Okay.
And so
She's
amazing.
so amazing.
Yeah, Cody's amazing. But yeah, so I've been telling her about how like the mailboxes kind of like blew up, and it was because of a YouTube video I did with her like 2 years ago when she was just getting her YouTube started. And she was like, dude, she's like, you have to make a course. And I was like, I make my money from like real business. You know, I was like very like against it. And she was like, if you don't make a course, I'm gonna make a course. And I was like, how dare you? You know?
She was just like, dude, you're totally.
Yeah. She's like, you have to do it.
You have to do it.
You have to do it. And so created it last summer. And this was just like by surprise. And it was simply to like service the people that were just like in my DMs asking how they could open one on their own. Now we have hundreds of students in the course. 22 of them have opened their own store all around the country.
Wow.
Brooklyn, San Diego.
So what's the cost outlay on a store? Because somebody's watching this right now. Also, guys, we're going to have a link in the description to her course. So if you guys want to open up your own mailbox store, you'll be able to go get her course in that description. So you're welcome. But so what does it cost? Like, what does this look like?
So I opened 2 stores for less than $60,000.
2 stores for under 60K?
Under 60K.
So like 30K a pop?
The first one was about 45, but
Okay.
then I knew in the second store it was easier, right? The second store I knew like what I didn't have to get.
Okay.
It's so inexpensive. So again, compared to like the bakery, right, where like I'm coming in and like you have to have ovens, you have to have all these things, grease
Right.
trap, all these things. You don't need any of that stuff, right? You literally need mailboxes, you need shipping counter, you need storage racks, like. It's
And
so
packing supplies.
minimal. Yes, it's
Right.
so minimal. And like I said, this is 50% margins. Coming from the bakery, we were lucky if we had 30% margins.
So what are the aspects that make a mailbox store successful? Is it like location? Is it, proximity to other mailbox alternatives? Like what makes a mailbox store work versus not work?
So what's worked in my stores, again, because we're in Vegas, right? So this is an urban area, suburb, urban area. So I was looking for high density residential that was around whatever this retail location is. Ideally, if it's anchored by like a grocery store or something with high walk-by traffic, that's what I was looking for. I've come to learn through my students, actually, like one of them, her name's Leslie, she opened Ship Arizona down in Benson, Arizona. Okay.
Get out of here.
Benson, Arizona. She has customers drive 40 minutes to her store because the post office that's closest to them either half the time loses packages or like things get weird over there, so they don't trust it. It's not reliable for them. There is a UPS franchise store in Sierra Vista, right, which is close by to her, but that's it. So she's got folks driving out of their way, and she's in a very rural area. So in comparison, to where I'm at.
Yeah.
So it's just proven that
And
like
she's killing it?
she's killing it. Okay, here's what's crazy. She hit break even 4 months in. I hit I started turning a profit about 18 months in. Granted, it was 2 stores. I started them at the same time.
Yep.
But I was just like, what am I doing wrong? Or what did
Sure.
I do wrong? Because yeah, she's at break even on month 4.
Okay, so she sounds like a unicorn, right?
She's amazing, yeah.
The average time to break even is about 12 to 18 months, you think, typically?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it took me 18 months, but that's just because I started 2 stores from scratch.
And this is an owner-operator. This is having somebody come in and operate for you.
Partner. So partner with an operator is my suggestion.
You come in with the money, they come in with the time and the availability to do the work, and then you guys just split the upside.
Yep, and that was my initial plan as well, because I was only just going to do that one store, and then I got like a wild hair, and I was so excited about our second location. So I do the second store, which guess what? Then it was me in one store and Sarah, my operator, in another store. Right?
Got it. So Lisa was working in a mailbox store for how long?
I was all up in that mailbox store.
I love it.
I was in there probably close to a year off and on.
Yeah.
So I had hired staff.
You do what you gotta do.
And then I was there I was there like all the time, and then I was there on Saturdays. Like I'd work the full day Saturday 96, but I'd bring in my laptop and just get other work done when it was downtime, And then I went like kind of every other Saturday, and then it's been a gradual fade out, obviously. But that's what I love about these stores, especially if you have other things going on. It is such a great, quiet place because it's like, it's not going to be busy all the time, 100% of the time, 9 to 6, right?
Right.
So I'll bring my laptop in and literally just get other work done while I'm there and just kind of use it as like a de facto office.
Yeah.
And it's so convenient. Like you don't realize how much you ship stuff out, especially if you have other businesses, until you own your own shipping store.
Right.
And so like we literally, so with England Vokers, they have a corporate magazine they put out quarterly. It's a lifestyle magazine. So we have boxes of those over at Ship actually, and I'll have agents come in and they'll just send out their marketing out of there because
why not?
why
Yeah,
not?
It makes sense.
It's so easy. So
Wow.
yeah, I love it for a multitude of reasons, and because your clientele is hyper local. You're servicing the folks that literally are just kind of like right by there in the neighborhood.
Right.
So at our store, for example, by Nellis Air Force Base, we have like a patch board that has like all the different like people will come in from like missions that they've done and like leave their patches, and we have a book exchange table of like take a book, leave a book, because there's no public library that's close by in that location. So
yeah, it's like a nice little community hub for people to come in.
Yeah, it's a little community hub.
That is so cool.
It's super cool.
And so, okay, we've got the mailbox store now. That was called Ship Nevada, you said?
Ship Las Vegas.
Ship Las Vegas. Engel and Volkers. What's next?
So it's called the Veteran Fund. It's
Okay.
a venture capital fund.
Okay.
And we invest in early stage technology companies that are focused on national security and dual use. And they must have a veteran or military spouse on the leadership team. So I come from a military family. I'm not a veteran myself. I'm the only GP who's not a veteran, actually. There's 4 of us total. Not a veteran myself, but I come from a military family. My father was Air Force and then worked for the Department of Defense while I was growing up. So I grew up down in Sierra Vista, actually. And yeah, like it's so purposeful, impactful, meaningful work. We write $250,000 to $500,000 checks. And these companies, we're coming in pre-seed, right? We're coming very early stage. We're one of their first institutional checks in, aside from like their family and friends that they've raised, maybe $100,000 from.
Yeah.
But they're doing incredible things. And these founders, they're high level folks, right? These are people who are former Navy SEALs, former Green Berets, former Army Rangers. Like they are truly battle tested, and they already have the mental grit that you want as an investor when you're putting money behind an entrepreneur.
Sure.
right?
And these are all for-profit ventures, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, because our sweet spot as a fund is helping them get non-dilutive government funding.
I love it.
Right.
Can you give an example of one of the types of things you funded?
Yeah, so one of them is a company called Firestorm. They're 3D printing drones. And these things are badass. And
So they're 3D printing the drones.
They're 3D printing drones that also have deliverables attached to them. And they're able to, so think of it almost like how like the app store is like the base and then you have all these modifications. So they've got the base drone and then you can do the deliverables so that it's modified for whatever the Marines need, the Navy needs, the Air Force needs, Space Force, whatever. They can modify those. The iterations come quick because they're 3D printing them, right? And here's another thing I love is that they've created these modular, almost like a trailer box where one guy fits in there with the machines, and these are just like HP machines, right? They're 3D printing them. They can pump out about 50 of them in a day, and the box is getting dropped to where the fight is.
Wow.
Right. So you're eliminating all of the supply chain issue, right? Of like
and the danger and all of the things, because now it's unmanned, and you can, of course, you save a life. It's an incredible thing, right? So that makes so much sense.
Isn't that wild?
It's like, so how did you even get into this world? Like, I know you come from a military family, but this is like a way outside of that. How did this get you?
And I muscled my way in, right?
Okay.
So as a founder, I'd never taken in investor money for any of my ventures. For whatever, I don't know, maybe it's like the Asian in us, right?
Yeah.
We're just like, we gotta do it ourselves.
Of course.
And
also, you're like, well, if it doesn't go, I don't want to have anybody that I have to look at and be like, sorry.
100%, exactly. Yeah. So, I realized that, and so I'd never raised money myself, but I had angel invested probably 7-8 years where I was, just writing like 25K checks, right? And you're writing small checks, and really you're just kind of betting on the founder because it's an angel investment, right? And like that was okay, but I was like,
a couple companies do all right, yeah. And then the rest
like,
kind of
and then the rest fizzle out, and you're like, okay, like that was that. But I was like, okay, how do I learn more about private equity and venture capital? Because I'm not that myself, and I never went that side as the founder, but like I need to learn more about this. Like, how do I learn about this quickly? And so this was over 2 years ago. I just started looking for opportunities to LP in to funds. And
that's a limited partner.
Limited partner, yeah. Just as an investor, where you don't have any managerial control, you're putting your money in.
As opposed to a general partner, which would be you
more
have
in
more
the managerial type.
managerial role.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
And so I was looking for opportunities to LP into funds. And one of them, even I went as far as like due diligence, where like they flew me out to Park City, and we're out there, and the GP list was super impressive. It was like all these like Goldman guys, and so I'm like, okay, like they know what they're doing, and really impressive backgrounds. But I remember sitting around with them, and I said, what else are we doing for these founders besides writing checks? And like no one had a good answer, and I was just like, So I remember flying back to Vegas, and I was just like, is that venture capital? Like maybe that's venture capital, because I don't know. And I was like, maybe that's it. But I didn't have like a great feeling about it. Not even a week later, a good friend of mine, Justin Nahama, calls me, and he's actually a GP in the fund. He calls me, and he's like, so some buddies of mine got together, and they've created this fund. It's like brand spanking new. We'd love to talk to you about it as an LP. And I was like, interesting. Like your ears must have been burning, because I've been like looking for something like this, right?
Isn't it so fun how the universe will answer what you're looking for as soon as there's alignment there?
Yes.
And it finds you. You're not chasing after it.
Yes. And it was immediate alignment, because I already knew and trusted Justin well. He's incredible. He's former Marine, former federal prosecutor, and then had this incredible career. And then he went on to be an attorney for CrossFit, help them scale to where they are now.
Is he any fun?
He's amazing. He's so cool. Yeah.
He sounds so serious.
No, he's incredible. And he's super tied in with Deepak Chopra. He's their COO for their foundation.
Cool.
He's such a good guy.
Yep.
So I already knew him, trusted him, liked him, right?
Got it.
So then he introduces me to Mike and Ryan, also phenomenal. And I'm like, I'm in, take my money, right? So I LP in, like 2 days later, $250.
Okay.
And I call Justin 2 days later, and I'm like, what is it going to take for me to be a GP? And he was like, it's really not how it works. He was like, you can't turn every LP into a GP, right? And I'm like, just hear me out on this, And I was like, let me fly into San Diego, because he and Mike are in San Diego and Ryan's in the Bay. And I'm like, let's all get together in person. I was like, I know you know me. I was like, the other guys don't know me well. They only met me on Zoom. I was like, let me do the pitch, right?
Yeah.
Like, let me tell you guys why you should let me in to be a GP. And he was just like, oh my God. So
What were you bringing to the table?
I told them, look, so it was Fund 1. And I was like, and this was like literally like I was one of their first LPs in. So they had no track record yet, right? Like just building it out. And I'm like, 1, I know I can bring in more LPs. I got the network. I've got great
huge,
people, right?
Especially for that kind of situation.
Like
right?
I know I can bring in more LPs. 2, like,
which is more money, guys. Just
yes.
so you understand.
Yeah, I can help you raise more money.
Yep.
Was my pitch,
Yep.
of course. And then I said, 2, you know, I'm so excited to learn about this and like venture capital. So I'm willing to make some room for me on the cap table, but I'm not asking for equal equity in this fund.
This time.
It's Fund 1.
Yeah.
So I will take less, but I give you my word, like I will lean in so hard because I'm excited to learn about this, and like I want to grow with this and like learn about this, and I want to be on a multi-decade journey with you guys as we do multiple funds. Like, let me lean in here because I think I can be really valuable, not just in the LPs that I can bring, but just overall, like the 4 of us like could be a superpower together,
Sure.
you know? And they're just like, you are so crazy. And so I did. I muscled my way in to become a GP.
So did you have to up your investment?
So basically what I did was I was like, let me like run the magic on like how many LPs I can bring in first, right? Like, what does that look like? And I proved myself over there for sure. And that was over 2 years ago.
Wow.
So now we've made 11 investments. We looked at like 1,500 deals last year.
Wow.
And it's so fulfilling. And we have
11 out of 1,500 guys.
Yeah.
So you're very selective. And
Super selective.
You're looking at decks that are like, this one makes sense, you know, and then you're filtering that down to, you know, maybe 100, and then out of the 100, you're doing even more due diligence and trying to figure out what here is going to be like asymmetrical returns and really a no-brainer.
We're looking at it through the lens of like, what could 100x, right? Which is why it's so
That's so
deeply
exciting.
focused on you know, not only tech,
Yeah.
but also that national security dual use component, right? We love to see commercial
Because you want
first.
government contracts.
We want government contracts, right?
And is that what you had like sought after? Because government contracts are going to pay the best, and they're going to be consistent, and typically have less competition because people don't really know how to even play in that
Right.
world. So was that why you wanted it? Did you anchor there and see that's my target? I want to find a way to get into government contracts and defense and figure out a vehicle or a mechanism to do that?
So Ryan, one of the GPs, his background, he actually created the first veteran tech accelerator called VetTech, like 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And he realized through that experience, he was like, these are incredible founders who have like all the soft skills that you already want. And he was like, and they're creating the technology that they wish they had when they were boots on the ground. So of course it makes sense that their ideal customer actually isn't, you know, the guy who just wants fancy toys in his garage. It's the Navy, right? It's the Marine Corps, it's the Air
Right,
Force
right.
that actually can use the technology that they have created, right? That they ideated when they were deployed, right? And
Because they were there.
and
They
in fact,
know
they
where the
made some
problems
crude
are.
prototype
Right.
when they were boots on the ground, right? And it's incredible what they can do with $500,000, and then the contracts come like pretty easily for them. So that was like the secret sauce, right?
it.
Where I was just like, that totally makes sense. I don't know how I can be helpful in this space, but like I will lean in where I can. So as like a subject matter expert, right? We lean in on our LPs really hard who are subject matter experts, and we have incredible LPs like, you know, General Stanley McChrystal, General Trent Edwards. He stood up Space Force. So like
Wow.
having him on the DD call with some of our space tech companies, and he's just like firing off questions. I'm on mute. I have nothing to contribute, right? Like I'm on mute.
You just feel so cool
But I
being in the
just wanna
conversation.
learn.
Yeah, it's so neat.
Cool to just get to learn. I feel like I get to learn every single day with them, and I can't tell you how fulfilling that is because you know, running companies, like there comes a point where like there's certain mechanisms that become rote. It's just what it is, and like that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's what's so incredible with this endeavor, and why I'm so grateful to be on the journey with them is because I truly feel like I get a chance to learn something new every single day.
Incredible. I would love to be on a list of potential LP with you guys because
Oh yeah, I'll send you our quarterly
Yeah.
update. It's one of our companies just went to freaking space, so it's called Lone Star Lunar. They literally, they caught a ride with SpaceX
I'm all
on the
about
Falcon
space,
9.
by the way.
Really?
Astro flipping, come on,
Oh,
man.
oh, that's right. Okay. No, you are gonna die. So
Yeah.
they are doing data storage on the moon. So it's
What
lunar
is
data
happening
storage.
right
What is
now?
happening? So it's lunar data storage, and they caught a ride with SpaceX on the Falcon 9, and it went up, and like their little like satellite thing like popped out its wings or whatever, and like the transmission was successful, like back and forth of the data storage. We sent up the Declaration of Independence because it's on brand.
That is so
So we're like, let's store that on the moon.
I
you
love
know?
it.
It's so cool. And that founder, his name is Chris Stott. He's so amazing. He's an incredible CEO. He's an incredible leader. Like,
So, I mean, one of your companies has gone to the moon.
yeah, legit went to the moon. Went to the moon. They got all this crazy earned press. I mean, it was just so cool. Like,
That
it
is
was just
so
it was so cool.
Incredible. Okay, so we've got the three. You've got the Veteran Fund. What's the fourth?
So the Mailbox Money course.
Okay, the course.
Yeah, the course.
Wonderful.
Because it became its own thing,
Of
right?
course it
was
would.
totally unexpected.
Yeah.
I literally was like, perhaps I could just have a platform, like one place where I put all the SOPs, and then that's what I could share with these people who like keep hitting me up. Because I didn't like ignoring people, right? So I was like, okay, like I need to give them something. Like, how do I at least fulfill the inbound?
Sure.
And like I said, I'm just amazed that it's literally creating small business owners like all around the country.
It's so cool.
And I'm like, yes, like we need more of this.
Of
like,
course.
This is what this country needs.
It's so interesting because I think, you know, from the perspective of being an entrepreneur, right? A lot of times, one of the most difficult parts of entrepreneurship is the fact that, you know, if you're doing something like what I do with wholesaling, you know, somebody is in their home having to be self-motivated to make these phone calls,
Yes.
having to, you know, have a process. And then, of course, when you're doing this kind of work, you get beat up a lot on the telephones, and
course.
it's like there's so many things that make you
Can
not
be
want to.
demotivating,
Yeah,
yeah.
and life, you know, it'll keep throwing that at you to test your resolve to see if like you even belong here.
Right.
Whereas when you come into a situation like the Mailbox store, right, you pretty well know what your day is, right? You can say, okay, look. And I'm not really down for the W-2. I'm not really wanting to go that route, but I have this incredible store that I've got that gives me, you know, 2-3 hours, sometimes 4 hours during the day for me to do other side business, which you were doing. But I also have my income generating store here, which
Yeah.
is keeping me alive and keeping the lights on.
Yep.
So even as an owner operator, if you are looking to do that as as your main hustle, and then have a side hustle like wholesaling, where you're kind of using the extra
You can
time
do your
through the day.
wholesale calls from the
I'm
store. Do your
saying,
wholesale
like,
calls from the
this
store.
is so cool that
I
you could
love the
super
store,
marry
yeah.
the because there's so many people that are just totally not down with having to go to a job every day, right?
Sure.
They just, you know, one of the things for me when I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't get into medical school. I should have, but I didn't get in for whatever the reason was. That's when I realized that I was outsourcing agency of my life to somebody else. And that was one of the most bitter pills to swallow, but it gave me insight as to, hold on a second, I don't need to do this. I can
Yeah.
be the captain of my own ship.
Yes.
And when I made that decision, even though the first business that I was involved in didn't succeed ultimately, it gave me proximity.
Several that didn't succeed.
100%,
Of
right?
course,
And
yeah.
it gives you proximity to other ideas, other people, which ultimately led me to real estate wholesaling, which has changed my life, right? So, sometimes you kind of just need to take that first leap, but you don't want to do it so dramatically where you're like, I'm completely dead if I don't figure this out.
Right.
You could have a thing like the Mailbox store, use that as your launch pad to doing other ventures, which I think would be one of the smartest way for somebody who's sitting on a couple $100,000 in their 401k or their IRA right now. They're like, what am I doing? Yeah, what are you doing? You could very easily take that money, untrap it and put it into a business like this, operate it yourself, and then use the time that you have in the day to do other things like wholesale or drop shipping or whatever else side hustle or thing that you're trying to also build, which is exactly what Lisa did. You were running your brokerage at the time.
Yep.
And this isn't like
And
a
we
Mickey
had
Mouse.
cupcakes,
It's
yeah.
not a Mickey Mouse brokerage, guys. This is like one of the most premier brokerages in the entire planet. Like Engel and Volkers is everywhere. And they don't just deal with, your South Phoenix house. We're talking like luxury mansions, right? So like high ticket commissions. So you're doing this all while you're working at the Mailbox store, which I just think is incredibly impressive. Like, who are you? Like you are.
No, I have great partners. I have great
Yeah.
partners in everything that I do, and we have great teams, right? So, I'm no longer a buy-sell agent. When we had the team at Sotheby's,
Okay.
I was buy-sell agent
Sure.
because I thought it was important for me to know the business.
Of course.
Now, as a brokerage owner, it was very important for me. I was like, I'm not going to be the top producer, buy-sell agent because I will never keep top producers. Right? I was like, I
Understood.
want to surround myself with top producers and they'll never have to question, hey, if some juicy listing comes in the door, who's getting it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of
Like,
course.
I don't like that type of unhealthy competition that it can create.
Right.
I'm really big on culture. Kathy and I are both really big on culture. And so I think that's why it's also incredible that like overwhelming majority it's women, right? So again, people were like, how does that work? Like you know,
Yeah.
everyone's strong personalities. And it works so well because we created this culture of collaboration and cohesion, and we're also supportive of each other.
That's so good. So you got these 4 really incredible companies. They're all doing well. What happened to Booze Cakes?
So we had that for 11 years, and we
Okay.
just exited it last year.
So you sold it.
Yeah.
Good exit.
Good exit. Yeah.
You know.
But it was because of Ken, actually.
Oh.
It's because of Ken McElroy.
Okay.
That
So
we
how
sold
did
that
he put it
business.
together?
He planted the seed,
Okay.
right? Because he's so wonderful. We talked about this earlier off camera, the whole like mindset thing,
Yeah.
right? And just almost like if you don't believe it first, then like it'll never come
course.
to fruition.
Right.
So Ken and I sat down together, actually at his office just up the road, and this was 2 years ago. We did this exercise. He rolled out butcher paper, and I always had a lot of shit going on. I'm a former Miss Nevada. I was still doing so much like community stuff. I was on all these boards and nonprofits.
A former Miss Nevada. She just threw that
Yeah,
in.
like 10 years ago, I was
Some
Miss
people
Nevada.
are like, you know,
Long
they
time
hold
ago.
their pageantry or, you know, as that thing. It's like, I'm Miss Nevada. And it's like, that's the like highlight of their entire life. This is something that we're like 40 minutes into this conversation and you just sweep it under the rug. But
there's a lot of community stuff. I did like nearly 500 community appearances during that time.
Wow.
Volunteering in schools, reading in hospitals, working with nonprofits. So just an incredible
Network builder,
community. Yes,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he and I are sitting down. He rolls out butcher paper and he gave me a pen and he is like, write down all of your shit. Write down all the stuff that you do. And it's like, I'm writing down all the businesses. And then I'm writing down all the nonprofit boards I'm on. And then I'm writing down all the projects. Like I wrote down everything. And he was like, okay. He's like, now circle the ones that make you money. Okay. So I'm circling. There's a whole side of the page. There's no circles. And I'm like,
dang it.
dang it. And then he's like, circle the ones you could see yourself doing for 10 years or more.
Okay.
Circling. There's some stuff over here. It doesn't make me money, but I could see myself doing it, right?
Sure.
Circle the ones where you do like purposeful work. Like you feel like the work you're doing
Lights
is
you up.
purposeful.
Right.
Yes, it's impactful, it's purposeful. I'm circling. And that one exercise alone made me realize of all the things that make me money, cupcakes was the only one that had one circle. It's just that it made money. I was like, I couldn't see myself doing it for another 10 years. I was already so far removed from it. I hadn't baked at that point probably for like 6-7 years. I had not baked because I don't have pastry. They were so much more talented bakers, so many more talented bakers than myself, you know. So I hadn't baked. I wasn't like part of the business anymore. I would like, you know, kind of pop in like the big profile events, high profile events, you know, of course, it's fun, it's an event.
Right.
But like, I wasn't even really part of the business. And that one exercise alone made me realize, okay, like what can I take off my plate? And so it just like got me thinking about it. And then just like you'd said before, where it's like, once you like open yourself up to it, right, it literally comes into your lap. We didn't work with a business broker. We didn't have to do any of that because the acquirer is a national bakery brand who we already had an existing relationship with. Right?
They
like,
approached you with the idea, or did you approach them with the idea?
yeah, because we were already collaborating on certain things.
Sure.
And it turned into this kind of like, do you guys want to collaborate some more? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how could we turn this into more, you know, more of a partnership?
Want to get married?
Or more
Can
of
we
a,
just eat you?
Yeah, like,
yeah.
Are we gonna do this, guys? You know?
Yeah.
We've been dating for so long.
Yeah,
you know?
it's great.
It's the next step.
Where's the ring?
It's the next step.
Let's move
right?
in.
I need a big ring. And so, yeah, like that's how it came about. Like,
Wow.
But it was just that one like mindset shift, right?
Yeah.
Of looking at your stuff and you're like, what could you do for the next 10 years or more? And the fact that I already knew like that wasn't one of them. And then I was like, okay, well then what, right? Like, why is it still taking up bandwidth? Why is it still on my plate? Like, you know, was it because I have this ego attached to it
Sure,
that I'm like,
sure.
oh, I'm known as like the cupcake, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm the cupcake
Yeah.
princess.
yeah,
or-
like, is that why?
Yeah.
Is that why you want to keep it?
Right, and was it?
I certainly had like an emotional attachment to it.
Right, it's the first entrepreneurial thing you
First
did.
one, yeah, very first one, right? Of
Right.
all the things that came after and the things that didn't work out after, right?
Sure.
It still was like always that anchor, and absolutely it was part of my like public identity, right? With Miss Nevada and cupcakes, and you know, it was absolutely part of that. So it was like, is that a strong enough tie to just keep it?
Right. And it wasn't.
No, and it shouldn't be, right?
Of course,
Not
of
if we're
course.
not in the face of all these other questions
Right,
too.
right. I mean, there's so much to unpack, but like I'm first just incredibly impressed by how many hours do you have in a day, right? Because what am I
Sometimes
missing
you got to
here?
squeeze out 25. but-
Yeah, like so now that you made the list, what got cut. What you've exited. Now you've got these 4 core. Do you have time for life? Like, do you have a dog?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, named Cupcake and Kimchi.
Of
They're
course,
corgis.
of course, Cupcake and Kimchi.
They're
Yeah.
corgis, and
Amazing.
Cupcake is a certified hospital pet therapy dog. So every week we go to Summerlin Hospital.
Get out of here. It's just,
We do, yeah. No, she's the best. She
you
loves
make me
it.
feel so
Get
unaccomplished.
out of here! Oh my gosh.
Like I feel like I'm bum compared
No,
to you.
get outta here.
No, this
No,
is so
it's
good, but
amazing.
you're motivating, like really are, just super inspirational. So, Case, and then what? Does your other dog cure cancer? Like what?
No, Kimchi's just hilarious. She's
Just-
great.
okay.
Yeah, she's just there. She's hanging
Why
out.
kimchi is a name? I get cupcake, but why kimchi?
Yeah,
Is
well,
that
you
your
know, we
favorite
wanted to make
food?
her Korean by association.
Got
you
it.
know, yeah.
Love it, love it. I love kimchi, by the way. It's delicious. So, what about other time, like family,
Yeah.
kids? What's your
Yeah.
scenario? Like, how are you managing your personal life?
Yeah, so I have a wonderful boyfriend
Yeah.
in a great relationship. I mean, the key with that is communication, right?
Of course.
And I also have found at this period of my life, like in my 20s, I did not do a good job of, I won't even use the word balance, but it was more just like consideration for that aspect of my life.
Of course.
I literally was just so hard charging on the build phase, and it was more like, if you are not on this train, you're off the train.
Right.
And I hurt people along the way because I didn't take into consideration, one, communicating that and letting them know, like, I'm sorry, like a relationship is not a priority to me.
Right.
And if you don't communicate that, they make you a priority, right?
Of
And we
course.
think the relationship's a priority, and
Yes.
you're like,
Hold
all
on a
this
second.
other stuff.
I'm on this train right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's on the train with you and is like, let's go.
He's on the train. He's hard charging. He's an F-22 pilot, and so he's like a combat fighter pilot. So
Of course he is.
gets like the mentality
Of course
of
he
the
is.
like.
He was also Mr. Olympia. Like, I mean,
He's very Captain America, so it's awesome though because it's like he gets like the singular focus
Yeah.
that it takes.
Yeah.
Right. He knows how to like hone that in because he's done it himself.
Right.
And so I appreciate that like he gets it, but he's also very good at like kind of pulling me back sometimes and just being like, hey, like let's just take a minute, or like, why don't we like stay in tonight and like let's cook together.
Fun.
Let's
Yeah.
let's just like chill out for a second, you know.
well, on the chill out vibe, because I'm, as we kind of wrap here, I want to ask you some questions that I think, like, do you vacation, and what is your favorite vacation
of course.
spot?
Oh my gosh, so many. I mean, love the south of France. I was actually just in Mexico City 2 weeks ago with YPO. They did a couples retreat. And so we were down in Tepoztlan.
Okay.
I've never been there before.
never either, yeah.
It's called Tepoztlan, and it's like this little kind of rural community. And so, yeah, we were just like riding horses around. It was
Fun.
incredible. It was so
Fun.
beautiful.
That sounds super relaxing. You have a pedigree from the college world. You have a degree in law, and of course, you began as an attorney. I've been asking this question to people because, of course, we see the way the world is right now, and the necessity for a college education is becoming less and less and less important, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you, because you do have a professional degree, and I've always felt like, okay, look, if you're going to college to be, for a sociology degree or, a degree that's not necessarily going to lead to a career.
Right.
When I had a conversation with one of the counselors at Penn State University, Pace and I had the privilege of being able to teach a real estate class there.
Cool.
And I asked, how many people actually get a career in their degree that they get, and it's less than 1%, right? It's really low. And so, what it was like when I was growing up, where you had to have a bachelor's
had to,
degree,
yeah.
otherwise you weren't going to get any job, right? And so that's not really the case these days, and people are getting saddled with tens of thousands of dollars in student debt,
insane, yeah.
and they're really just not coming out well equipped to handle life. Do you think a college education in this modern society or this modern world is as important as it was for when you were in that position?
I think it's changed quite a bit. I will say, I do think law school, like if for whatever reason it's on your heart and you can do it with no or minimal debt, and then you want to get like a postgraduate degree, I think law school, the JD, is the best bang for your buck. The traditional program is 3 years after what, and you can go in with any bachelor's degree. This is crazy to say, I didn't know that going in. And so I went and got a political science degree because that's what the counselor told me was like the most common degree accepted into law schools. I remember sitting in my 1L class and there was a girl in there who was a dance major from Alabama, and I was like, I did this wrong. Like, that's amazing, you know? I think it's the best bang for your buck because you can get your JD, you can get out, take the bar, go practice law, and go get like a job somewhere, right?
Sure.
Or you don't have to take the bar. You have the JD. You could go into government work. There's a bunch of different tracks for people who are only JD, no bar. And then the network you build, right? So now I've been out of law school now 14 years. And the people I went to law school with, every single one of them are either now partners at their firm, or they have their own law firm, or they went entrepreneur and have their own business.
Right.
They're all doing incredible things. Oh, and by the way, you have a whole roster of attorneys, because you know this being in business, right? You have a whole roster of attorneys in varying sectors that you literally can just pick up the phone,
right,
and get some advice.
That's incredible.
You
feedback.
can't.
I've never heard this answer from
the
anyone, so
money, you know?
That's really good, and especially because you're not even working in that field, there was still such a massive benefit for you in building that network. So, guys, this is the first time I'm actually going to side with this because I've always had the position that I don't think it's necessarily important anymore.
I agree. I do agree. I think for kind of a general bachelor's degree, just to go get it, to go appease your parents
or have a college
whatever.
experience or whatever.
No, in the college experience, like what?
It's just
what
drinking.
is that? It's just drinking.
Yeah.
You're gonna make bad credit card decisions.
Correct.
I'll tell you what it is
bad
right now.
life decisions. You might
Yeah.
get saddled with a kid.
Yeah,
like there's all kinds of things that happen.
Exactly. There's so many things, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that our institutions of higher education now, are what they once were. So.
Correct.
It's got to be a personal choice, but I do think, just like I said, from a network standpoint of, who will you be surrounded by and what will those folks be doing and continuing to do later in life, I've found that incredibly helpful and fruitful. But it's really, I think it's a, personal choice. And I also just love I always look at look, knock on wood, everything's great. If for some reason things were to blow
Bobby,
up.
give her your head. just
If things were to blow up in my face, right? If every single thing that we just talked about for some reason just went away.
Yeah.
My worst case scenario is that I have to go get a job.
As a lawyer.
Right? I know exactly what I would do too. I would call my old boss, who is now a United States bankruptcy trustee. I'd say, hey Robert, I need a job. Can I come to your office? Right. That's exactly what I would do.
My plan B has always been look, if everything went to crap and that's why I'm not really heavily leveraged. I don't have no mortgages or anything. I've always just said, well, if it all went to crap, I could just go drive Uber. Yeah, I got some great black cars.
That's your worst case.
That's my worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I do the Indian thing and be a driver.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's your worst case.
It's my worst case scenario.
I'm that's my worst case. My worst case scenario is I have to go get a job.
Yeah. So
it's not
what?
that bad.
Not so bad at all.
Yeah.
Well, for somebody that's as accomplished as you, this will be the final question I ask, and I think this is a really important one for someone that has done so much and will continue to do incredible things, I believe, in your future. Why do you think we're here? What's the meaning of life to you?
Yeah, I think just, doing things that are impactful and purposeful for you, whatever that looks like. Maybe that's raising your family. Maybe that's building a business. Maybe that's helping others become real estate investors or small business owners, whatever that looks like.
Thing that just makes you happy.
Yeah, I think just being purposeful, impactful, and in knowing too, it's a quote my parents told me ever since I was little, and it's rang true every stage of my life. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And it's so
good.
true.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yes. Yeah.
Bars.
And so my mom, she'd always remind me, she's like, you are talented. She's like, you're already talented. She's like, God has blessed you. You are talented. She was like, you have to work hard because, right? There's no other question.
And put talent and hard work together and you're going to be a superstar. You're a unicorn. Lisa, what a mind-blowing conversation. I have to say, you're one of my most favorite people to have ever talked to.
Oh, it's so
you really are an inspiration to myself and I'm sure to the thousands that are going to watch this. Guys, follow Lisa on all her platforms. Where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and kind of all the platforms at Lisa Song Sutton. And I would love to connect.
Guys, reach out to Lisa. Again, a link to her course is in the description. You absolutely want to take her up on this incredible game plan of having your own mailbox store and using that as your segue into other ventures. You've seen it worked for this incredible human being, and it could also work for you. Until the next time, guys, if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know the type of guests that you want to see on this podcast, because I think this conversation was probably one of the most impactful ones for me. So thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you again in the next one, guys. Wow, don't you feel like you're not doing enough in your life? Yeah, it's exactly how I felt after talking to her, but in a good way, right? Because people like this inspire you to get after it and make more of your day, of your week, of your month, and of your life. I felt like I needed to read more books, I needed to do more deals, I needed to get invested in more businesses, and every time that I get an opportunity to speak to Lisa or somebody of that caliber, I level up in life. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, again, remember to leave us a comment, and if you haven't already, like the dang video. See you next time.